Okay, next topic is on word problems or problems with percentages. And with this topic and here on in, you're now able to use your calculator. Here's my calculator, boom. You can use yours. I mean, during regular schoolwork, you can definitely just use your computer calculator, but on quizzes and tests, you're going to have your own little separate, simple calculator to use. Don't expect to get one from me. Anyways, here we go. With percent problems, there's a bunch of ways to do this. The one way that I'm going to teach you here is not the most correct way, but it gets you the answer most of the time. I'll show you the more correct way after we do algebra. And it's looking at two problems like this. One is, you might get a question, what is 40% of 250? If you were asked, I have 250 of something, and what is 40% of that? Well, you know that 50% of that is half, so half of 250 is 125. 40% is probably a bit less than 125, maybe close to 100-ish. So, I mean, by estimating, you can pretty much get the answer. To actually get the answer, what you're going to do is follow my simple rule about when to multiply and when to divide with percent problems. If the percentage is given in the question, you're going to multiply. Now, I'm a little bit ashamed in saying this little rule because it doesn't work all the time, and real math teachers are probably booing and making comments below and thinking, oh, what a horrible person you are saying this kind of stuff, but it works most of the time. I'll give you the truthful way to do this a little bit later once we've done some algebra. But bottom line, if percent is given in the question, you're going to multiply the numbers together. So if percent is given, you're going to multiply. Here's what I mean. So our question, what is 40% of 250? You don't just go 40 times 250. You must convert all percentages to a decimal first. So change this to a decimal, 0.40. Multiply 250. Remember from our last lesson, when you multiply by decimals, you'll get a smaller answer, which is what we want. 0.40 times 250 using your calculator. 0.40 times 250, you get an answer of 100. That was pretty close with my guess. 100. It's always good to estimate, give you an idea if your answer makes sense or not. And that does. That's about 40% of 250, 100. Okay, so that is what you do, the same thing. If a percent is given in the question, I gave you the percentage, change the percent to a decimal and multiply. If you're given percent, multiply. Example 2, here we're being asked to find the percent. We don't know the percent. What percent is 12 out of 25? So like you got 12 out of 25 on a test, what percent did you get? In this case, my little rule is if percent is asked for, then you're going to divide. Again, I know it doesn't always work, but it will work for all the questions that I'm going to give you at this point, but we'll give you the better answer later on. So what percent is 12 out of 25? The question with dividing is, what's the correct order? Should we go 12 divided by 25 like this? Remember, the fancy way or proper high school way of showing divided by is a fraction sign. Is it 12 divided by 25 like this? Or is it 25 divided by 12? And the answer is, the way to figure out the answer is to look at the word of. 12 out of 25. So the out of part is attached to the 25. It's out of 25. 12 out of 25. This is the correct way to show it, not that. So again, what this means is it's 12 divided by 25. So what is 12 divided by 25? You don't know? Use a calculator. You can do that now, right? 12 divided by 25. And then that gives you this, 0.48. Before you go and think, oh, I got the question done, this is easy, put the 0.48 here. The question is asking for what percent? Well, you have to use the tricks we learned from before. How do you convert decimals to percent? Move the decimal 2 spots to the right, and it's 48% is your final answer. It sounds about right. Half of 25 is 12.5. A little bit less than that. It should be a little bit less than 50%. That's a little bit less than 50%. 48. So, really simple. If percent is given, you multiply. If percent is asked for, you'll divide. Okay, let's see if we can put this to use with the next two. What is 16% of 150? Okay, well, percent is given in the question, so we're going to multiply. First, we got to change it to a decimal, 0.16, 2 spots to the left, times by the 150, and when you punch those in, 0.16 times 150, you get 24, which is right. Makes sense. 16% of 150, if you think about it, 24 is logical. What percent here, we're asked to find a percent, is 35 of 65? What percent? We're asked to find percent. If you're asked to find percent, you divide. Who's the denominator? Who's going to go in the bottom? 35 of 65. 35 out of 65. It's like this. 35 out of 65. 35 divided by 65. So 35 divided by 65 gives you this, 0.53846, 0.53846, blah, blah, blah. Where do I stop? Let's just make a general rule here. When you have a decimal places, round to the second decimal place. We're not going to round yet, though, because remember, this is a decimal. We're asked to find percent. To convert percents to convert decimals to percent, we move the decimal 2 spots to the right, which is the same thing as timesing by 100, and you end up getting 53.846, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, we should round to the second decimal place. There's the second decimal place right there. That number is greater than 5, so we'll round up to 53.85 is the answer. I was going to put dollars there for some reason, but we're not talking money yet. Okay, how about these two? Let's go a little faster. 6% of 18 is what number? Are we going to multiply or divide? Well, percent is given according to my flawed rules. 6% is the percent is given, so that means we're going to multiply. The tricky part is it's not 0.6. You move the decimal 2 spots to the left, 1, 2. It's 0.06. Common mistake many people make. Times 18. So 0. Clear this off. 0.06 times 18 gives us 1.08. And look at that, it's already nicely to the second decimal place, already rounded off. So that gives us 1.08. That makes sense. A little bit of 18 is probably a little bit. Next, what percent of 9 is 1? Both these questions are worded a little bit differently than the ones above. That's no big deal. First off, are we going to multiply or divide? We're going to divide because we're asked to find percent. Like that rule up here, if you're asked to find percent, you divide. So, what percent of 9 is 1? Is this going to be 9 divided by 1, or is it going to be 1 divided by 9? What is it out of? It's out of 9. The wording is tricky. You got to be careful. So it's out of 9. So this is not right. This is right. So we're going to go 1 divided by 9. And 1 divided by 9 divided by 9 gives you this, 0.1 going on forever, and it does go on forever and ever and ever. 0.111111, or you can just put 0.1 with a line over it. Remember, we have to convert this decimal to a percent, because that's what the question is asking for. We move it 2 spots to the right, and you get 11.11 going on forever, but you realize that there's a 1 after here, which means if you hit it's less than 5, it keeps this one exactly where it is. So it's to 2 decimal places, 11.11%. Done. Another little thing, if it asks for percent, put a percent there. If it gives you percent, don't put a percent here. Next up, a little 2 word problems. Pam and Tyson. The 2 of them have a lemonade stand, and they've agreed that Pam is going to get 60% of the profits. What a nice guy Tyson is. If they all in total earn $325, how much will each person get? Well, let's first figure out how much Pam gets. She gets 60% of the profits. The profits are $325. We need to find what is 60% of the $325. So we'll take our 60%, convert it to a decimal, and we're going to multiply. Why are we multiplying? Because, again, percent was given in the question, so we're going to multiply. Just remember it. Get a tattoo, and so that you'll always remember. Well, don't get a tattoo because this is technically kind of sort of a little bit wrong, so at least a temporary tattoo. Anyways, you times these 2 together, 0.6 times 325, so 0.6 times 325, and you get 195. So Pam makes a nice cool $195. Alright, well, we're not done yet. Each person, how much does each person get? Oops, Tyson made a typo. I think it was the right typo there. Tyson gets how much? 2 ways to do this. You could just realize, okay, there was $325 in total. Pam's getting $195. Tyson's getting the rest. When you subtract the 2, $325 minus $195, you get $130. $130 for Tyson. The other way to do this would be, if Pam's getting 60%, Tyson must be getting 40%. The other way to do this would be just take 40% of the total 325, and trust me, you would get the same 130. So either way, Pam gets 195, Tyson gets 130. It's quite the business they had. That was just one day too, apparently, that they got there. Anyways, here's the next question. Mr. Amazing is 38 years old and has been teaching since 1999. For what percent of his life has he been teaching? So Mr. Amazing is a he, there's the information there. What percent of his life has he been teaching? Is this a multiplying or dividing question? According to my rules, it's a dividing question, not just because everything on this side has been a dividing question, but because I'm asking for percent. If I'm asking for percent, we're going to divide. The tricky part is, what am I dividing by? What are my numbers? For what percent of his life? Out of his life. Well, how many years is his life? Well, it's 38. That's what the word problem told us. 38 years of his life. How long has he been teaching? Please do not put 1999. That's not going to work. You have to think, how long has he been teaching? Well, at this point, we're in the year 2012. If you're watching it right now in 2012. Subtract from 1999. That's 13 years of teaching. We don't know if he started early 1999, late 99, so this is a good enough estimate. 13 years of teaching. So So these are the two numbers we're going to use. Is age, 38, and the years teaching, 13. What are we going to divide by? Is it 38 divided by 13, or is it 13 divided by 38? The question is, for what percent of his life? It's out of the life. The life is the 38, so the out of 13 out of 38 years. That's incorrect. It's this one, 13 divided by 38, which is 13 divided by 38 gives you that huge number. Let's just do this quickly up here, rounding it. We know we're going to have to move the decimal 2 spots over. So 1, 2, it gives us 34.2105 blah 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 percent. So we move it 2 spots over. You get that. Remember, we round to the second decimal place, which would be right here, that 1. Because the number after it is less than 5, it stays as 1. So you're going to get 34.21. Again, so big one putting dollar signs there. 34.21% of his life has been spent teaching. Over a third of his life has been spent teaching. Well, he is amazing. Here are your 4 skill testing questions. For number 1, simple. Number 2, Maya gets 36 out of 38 in her test. What percent did she get? This one here. What percent of your life, has been spent in school? So it's very similar to the Mr. Amazing question up here. You've got to figure out what your life is, how many years your life is. Hopefully you have that memorized. You know, to figure that out. And how many years have you been spent in school? Now when I say how many years have you spent in school, a couple things. Start at kindergarten, don't count preschool, and count that grade 8 is half over, even though technically not, but close enough, half over. So those 2 things, show your work with that so I can see. Everyone's numbers will be different because your ages are different, and maybe your years in school have been more or less than everyone else. And the last question here. If, on average, I looked up, 40% of people don't wash their hands after using the toilet. According to that data, and according to and let's just assume that our class is just like everyone else, society, and they follow what everyone else does, how many people in this class right now probably have dirty toilet hands? So bits of information you'll need there. 40% of the class. You're going to have to look, count how many kids are in the class right now and get the answer to that. So there you go. Talk to you later. Bye.